The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for this day.
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a sea captain. You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team. Shouldn't it be the same for your insurance? So don't settle for just any insurance when you can go with a leader. State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Purina believes no one should have to make the impossible choice between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to learn more.
Hello and welcome to Islanders Anxiety from Lighthouse Hockey and the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Dan Saracini. Joining me on this Sunday evening for our 10th season doing this wonderful program is my good friend Michael Leboff. And Mike, the Islanders are back this week, which means we are also back. It feels good to do a proper episode of Anxiety again. We've been doing stuff all summer long at the Patreon, but it's great to be back here talking with you with Islanders games on the schedule. It's a bit of a different feeling for the Islanders and their fans than we've felt in a little while. But right now, you know, a couple of days out before the season starts, vibes are high. So I have to cherish these times. How are you? That's me anyway. How are you feeling about the Islanders right now?
Yeah, I think like everyone else, I kind of am just along for the ride. I've got no... I don't really have a feel for where this is going. It feels very much like a first day at a new school, with new faces, new principal, whole kind of kit and caboodle. And so that's scary. It's fun, scary, but yeah, I already kind of scared myself earlier because I was just looking at the schedule and realized, okay, so the Islanders play the Penguins on Thursday. That's a terrible break because the Penguins play Tuesday night, so they'll already be in mid-season form. Like, they've got a game under their belt. We're going to be rusty. That means that they play Saturday against the Capitals, the home opener. That's a must-win, obviously, because they're going to lose to the Penguins because the Penguins will be already, have shaken off the rust. The Islanders wouldn't, so there's no way they're going to win that game. And then the Capitals, well, they've been struggling against the Capitals, so then they lose that one. They lose their first must-win of the season, and then that makes Monday afternoon against the Jets on Columbus Day a game that I plan on bringing Isla to for her first game ever. Yeah, so that her first game ever is going to be a must win. So that's horrifying stuff, and that means we're if we're already looking at must win games week 1 of the season, it must mean the season's about to start. Another season of Islanders anxiety. So I'm very excited to get into these, the must-win games that are coming our way, the 82 game playoff that's coming our way, and we'll find out. We'll find out if this is going to be the season 6 of the 2021-2022 New York Islanders or
Right.
not. I'm very excited to find out the answers to all these questions.
Yeah.
And as we've talked about a lot on this podcast over the years, like as someone who just kind of tunes out from all preseason and training camp stuff and tries to just not take it for anything. I'm excited to learn about Matthew Schaefer because I haven't watched him at all. So I'm pretty excited to see what this guy's got.
Yeah. Well, I hope it's not the 6th season of the 21-22 New York Islanders because there's a lot of new faces here, including one Matthew Schaefer. Obviously, we're going to talk about in a little bit. But I'm in agreement with you that especially the opener against the Penguins, I think, is going to tell us a lot about what this Islanders team is about. We are going to preview that game and the Caps game in the second half of this episode. We won't talk much about the Winnipeg game. We are going to be back next week on Sunday, so we'll talk about that game at that point. But it is a 1:00 game, so I'll just let everybody know now. So when next week's episode comes out, try and listen to it in the morning before that game actually starts. But in any event, the first half here, we're going to talk about training camp, a little bit of preseason, what to kind of maybe expect, some of the things that we're afraid of, things maybe we're looking forward to. And then also in the second half, we'll get into some potpourri. We'll do some oddly specific predictions. We'll talk about some baseball guy who's not watching hockey. Oh, well. And who knows what else. And maybe even reflect a little bit on years 10 of Islanders Anxiety. Reminder before we dive into all of that we are on Patreon at patreon.com/Islanders Anxiety. Membership gets you commercial-free episodes, bonus podcasts, written posts, access to our chat, and more. Or you can just join for free and get our weekly release calendar and any announcements. So sign up today, patreon.com/Islanders Anxiety. Okay, so the Islanders finished the preseason with a record of, and I'm sure I'm going to get this wrong, I believe they went 2-4, or at least 2-2-2. I guess they had 2 overtime or shootout loss too. That's whatever. I mean, we don't really care. Like we talked about this a lot. We don't really watch the preseason. These wins don't really matter all that much. Although the biggest takeaway for me as a person that only watched, I think, half of those games maybe, is that boy, a lot of guys got hurt. Like every week it seemed like after every game it was like, oh, this guy's week to week or this guy's hurt. Now a lot of those guys came back. Anthony Duclair was week to week. All of a sudden he's back playing again. Anders Lee was supposed to be hurt. Now all of a sudden he's out. He's back playing again. Now the latest guy is unfortunately one of the guys who looked best in camp, which was Cal Ritchie, who is now out 1 to 2 weeks with a lower body injury. He might play in one of these 2 games that we're going to talk about later on in this episode. So I don't even know. It's almost the inverse of the Lou Lamoriello era where, a guy would be day to day and then you wouldn't see him for 6 months. Now it's like this guy's week to week and, he's back a game later. So I don't even know what's really happening, but I did notice that it seemed like every day there was somebody else who ended up on a list that I didn't want them on. So that was my big takeaway from the preseason, and I don't like it. But I think if it's out of precaution, that's probably not that bad.
Yeah, that's why I don't watch any of it, right? Like it's just I just don't. Only thing I want to see is that no news is good news kind of situation, and it seems like every game that wasn't the case, in every practice, and somebody like even Dalen Kufler was hurt. So like when it's just going down the list here of players, it seemed like they brought however many people they bring to camp, right? 50 or so. And we were dealt like 15 different people going in and out. And Jonathan Drouin was sick. Simeon Varlamov Lou Lamoriello is still in charge of Simeon Varlamov because nobody really knows what's going on there. It sounds like the rest of his career is in jeopardy, or at least this season is in jeopardy for him, which would probably correlate to the rest of his career being in jeopardy because of where he's at in his career. So I mean, that was your big takeaway. My big takeaway was that the Islanders were doing too much stuff. Like they were all over the place, man. They were doing a lot of stuff, and that was making me a little nervous. Like we not to spoil one of our weird Islanders, but we had a pretty big guest. We got into talk about Lou at one point, and One of the biggest adjustments here, aside from that injuries, is that these guys are going to have to learn to do stuff, because when Lou was in charge, he, as this guest kind of explained, and we've heard from other folks who have worked under Lou and played for Lou, is he basically takes everything else off your plate, and all you have to worry about is showing up for the games on time and finding a ride home, right? Like, and when that's the case for the players, it's also the case for the fans. Like, I don't have to worry about seeing where, where are the Islanders today? They're having a barbecue at Belmont. Oh, okay. Like, I'll just tune in for this. Like, I just knew, okay, they're playing at 7:30, which they're not playing at 7:30 anymore. It's a little salty about that too. I think, we talked about that on a mailbag, right? The 7:30 start, right?
Yeah.
And
it's very divisive. Some people
very
are happy
divisive
with it, some are not. Yeah.
and I thought the funniest part about the whole thing was that people have been complaining for years and years and years that the NHL doesn't stagger start times. The Islanders were the only team that does it. And when they go back to the 7 p.m. starts, they're like, oh man, another Lou rule is out the window. Good for the Islanders. Like, which way do you want it? Anyways. But yeah, so they were just doing, they seemed like a bunch of busy bees all summer. They're on podcasts all over the place.
Yeah.
They're doing all sorts of stuff. And I just hope that, the whole organization, one of the things that's scaring me the most here, is that I hope as an organization, you judge whether a season is successful or not by the wins and the losses and how long the season lasts, and not if our engagement numbers were up and stuff like that. So I'm a little nervous about that. But we'll see. I mean, it's only 4 or 5 days till we find out if these guys are still, if they still care about playing hockey, or if they just care about doing the rounds on various podcasts.
Yeah. I don't think that's the case. I think that they'll be pretty focused on winning. Now, how much winning they're going to do, that's what worries me, because as we found out in a lot of the season previews this year, we did our season preview of season previews over at the Patreon. Also, we didn't preview a ton of Islanders season previews because there wasn't a whole lot to preview. Basically, everybody said the same thing. There are prospects here now for the first time in a long time. They won the lottery out of nowhere. They got Schaefer. They had Richie from the Nelson trade. And they got all these other guys. But this roster is really not particularly high on the talent list, at least according to the chart slingers and all this stuff, the usual crew, right? We'll get to one in particular in a second. But, I found that was sort of fair. Like, I don't know what this team is going to be. It's one thing to be like, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but like, even if they were to miss the playoffs, that's kind of a big, it's like betting on odds or evens on roulette. Like, yeah, you can win, but you're not going to win that much. The odds are not really in your favor. You could say, I think they're going to miss the playoffs, and okay, that's fine. But like, there are different ways to miss the playoffs. You could be in it until the last game of the season and then fall out, with a couple of games left, or their season can be over by November because a bunch of dudes get hurt. And they, like you said, they lose a bunch of games to these teams that they could beat, and all of a sudden that's the end of that. So I'm really curious to see how this season unfolds. Some people, I have friends who think this team is primed for a resurgence season. They think guys like Anthony Duclair, who obviously was hurt all last year, he was even more hurt than I think we even realized, because when he came back, he definitely wasn't right. And we were all saying that, like, yeah, he doesn't look right, until eventually he had that blow up with Wah. He was at the, I don't know if it was the first day of camp or maybe the golf outing, where he was like, yeah, the doctors told me that my groin was torn right off the bone. And I was like, bro, what? Like, that's messed up. Like, that's just not being hurt. That's like Terrifier stuff. Like, what is happening right now? What is this, Reanimator? Like, what, tore the groin off your bone? How's it even possible?
Well,
anyway.
You made the point before about like injury and how we don't hear anything about injuries under the old regime. And so when he got hurt, we all were like, oh, that doesn't look good. And then they're like, yeah, he's, whatever. I can't even remember how they described it. I think they said like lower body, week
just
to
lower
week.
Body. Yeah.
Right. And then it said week to week. That's one that, had we kind of bent the rule a little bit and explained what had happened there, I think the fan base would have been a lot easier on his first season on the island. So next time, not that I'm wishing it, but the next time a player rips his groin off his bone, I'm excited to hear it so I can say, okay, like I'm not going to be
Right.
mad at this player for the next 6 months because his groin
Right.
was just ripped off his bone.
I mean, it sounds like the coach didn't even know that his groin was ripped off his bone, because I don't know Patrick Watt personally, but like if somebody told him, Duke had his groin ripped off the bone, I think the coach would be a little bit more sympathetic to, what he's doing out there. So I don't know. I thought that was the first of a couple of sound bites. I'll get to Watt again probably towards the end of this first half. Another fun soundbite I thought was funny, but that's the kind of stuff that like we're gonna get now. But in any event, the reason I bring it up is because I have friends who think that Duclair is healthy now. He's motivated. Obviously, that first season was a complete disaster, and think that he's got 30 goal potential in him, and which would obviously be a huge thing. Shabanov is here. He only, I think, had 2 goals in the preseason, maybe 1. I'm not even sure. He's definitely very small, but he had some moments where it was like, wow, this guy's pretty good. We are, I think, me personally, I'm just going to talk about Matthew Schaefer in this episode as if he's going to make the team. Now, the team's final roster won't be out until Monday, probably after you hear this. So we don't know. I guess there's a small chance he could be sent back to junior. Who knows? But to me, I think most observers this preseason, although Mike, you were not one of them, he didn't do anything to warrant getting sent down to junior. In most of the games, he was their best player or among their best players. And you could see the skating. We've all seen the gif by now of him chasing down Matvei Michkov on that breakaway in overtime, which was pretty impressive. His hockey IQ in his own zone is impressive. He needs to gain strength and everything. He only turned 18, a week and a half ago. So, I mean, there's going to be there, but I think you can tell the hockey IQ is there. The wheels are certainly there. So I don't see why he would go back to junior, but who knows? We'll see what they're thinking. But, people, there are going to be chart slingers, one of whom, our old nemesis, Dom at The Athletic, had a great thing. I don't know, do you have the tweet on you? Could you pull it up and read this? Because it's great. So there's this camp that Dom is in, and we'll read in a second. And then there are people that are actually kind of high on this team and think that, they might be able to put something together. But that's, I think, mostly in the minority, frankly. And most of them sound like old Dom. So do you have that tweet?
I do, and I will read it to you. Yeah, I actually just saw this for the first time today. I've held true to my word and have kind of ripped the Band-Aid off with Twitter. I deleted off my phone and stuff. I still have my account is still active, but
me too.
I don't ever use it. I'll log on the desktop once a week or two and just check in to see if I've missed any like DMs or whatever. But that's it. And so I saw this today for the first time from the season preview package that always is just a real hoot. The Islander season preview. On Long Island, the average case feels like the worst case. Too good to be a serious lottery threat, but not good enough to be a serious playoff threat. Which is just unbelievable timing, considering what happened last year when the Islanders were not a serious lottery threat, and they were not a serious playoff threat, and yet they won the lottery. I guess they missed that. They must have missed that one there because I don't know if I would have led the article in with that for this particular team, at least. You could say, yeah, they're headed towards the middle. I don't know if I would have mentioned the part about the lottery since they just won the lottery doing this exact thing that you're opining against. So, it was good to see that everyone's still, swinging and missing over there. So hopefully we have to prove that one wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't bet on them winning the lottery again, but, it is funny to me that these guys live in a world, and by these guys, I mean the chart slingers at The Athletic, who are all Leafs fans. I mean, this is not a shock anymore. If you go over they let go some more people over the summer. One of them is, of course, our friend Arthur Staple, and they're just basically all Leafs all the time now, with a Michael Russo or a Mark Lazarus or an Eric Stevens kind of sprinkled in here and there. But I think Stevens might cover just every team west of the Mississippi now. I'm not even sure. But they live in this world where you are either a Stanley Cup contender or you're going to try for the first pick in the draft. That's it. And that is completely ludicrous. Like, you're basically removing 27 teams from the NHL. So that means that 27 teams are just failures right out of the gate because they're not going to win the lottery and they're not going to contend for a cup. And even then, even within that very narrow window, you could, not win the cup right because you had, Jack Johnson on your roster or whatever, or you could not win the lottery right because it doesn't count because you had some kind of cockamamie low odds of winning and you won, just like the Islanders did. So I don't know, like that just sounds like a shitty way to watch hockey. To just be like, well, they're not going to win the lottery and they're not going to win the cup, so who cares? Like, dude, really? And as a Leafs fan, dude, really? Like, that's the other thing too. Like, we know who you are. We know what team you're watching. Like, really? You're going to throw them in that bucket too?
That's my favorite part of this whole thing is like that. Even after all these years and all the crow that they've had to eat over there, and it's not just them. Like, there's other outlets that kind of do the same. They still write and talk about hockey in this fantasy world. Like, the real NHL is not happening, and the NHL that really counts is the one that happens in their Slack channel or whatever, where the Leafs win the cup every year and it's on Amazon and all that stuff. And so yeah, I by the way, the new NHL Amazon thing came out. I didn't realize it, and I saw it on my like, hey, watch this next thing that you get on your TV, and I clicked on it. And I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the last one that they did with the Leafs, like where they went?
I have not watched any of these, so
okay.
I only know them through you.
But so the last season when they did it, it was when the Leafs lost to the Bruins in Game 7, and the Leafs episode was about William Nylander and David Pastrnak. So Pastrnak from the Bruins and Nylander from the Leafs. This year, they did another Leafs episode, of course, and it's about William Nylander again.
Yeah.
Because nobody else granted access. Luke Fox had a great recap, like the 5 things we learned. And one of them was that the only people to grant Amazon off-ice access from the Leafs was William Nylander and Brendan Shanahan. So, yeah. So they're also living in this fantasy land, too. Like, William, even there, it's Nick Kyprios calls it blue and white disease, right? And it's crept in, and it's crept into, it's not just the Leafs fan base now anymore, the Leafs media. It's now because there's so many of them within just the national media, it's now crept into just how hockey's covered generally, where you're being told something and it's just, you're like, I'm watching the game right now, and that's not what's happening. And I find that to be the case with the way these are all written, which is, yeah, as you said, like there's a lot of different ways to have a season where you end up at missing the playoffs or barely making the playoffs or winning the President's Trophy or coming in last place. And I think that the Islanders have a lot of paths to miss the playoffs. They probably have more paths to do that than they do to make it. But I think that there's certainly plenty of room for them to make the playoffs. But like I think there's some that just have been completely kind of brushed aside. Like there's a world where at the end of the season the Islanders missed the playoffs, and we're like, wow, that was a good season. Like they showed some, Schaefer was awesome. Maybe Sorokin was good, and some other guys came up, played well. They did some things at the deadline, whatever. And then there's also a season where they make the playoffs and we're geeked up. They made the playoffs, and then they get bounced in the first round. We're like, God damn it, that was torture again. Like there's all sorts of different seasons that happen. But when these places write about these preview pieces, it's, as you said, it's either an absolute failure because you didn't win the lottery or win the Stanley Cup or come close to winning the Stanley Cup. So yeah, 27 teams are just, it's not even worth watching. Like, oh man, you poor St. Louis Blues fans. We're in the same boat as you.
Right.
Like we'll see you next. Maybe we'll see you next May when one of us, hopefully one of us can get lucky and win the lottery, which has never happened, especially not in last May when you guys completely forgot about that. So yeah, already frustrated.
I know, right? This is episode 1, and we're already annoyed at how they're looking at the Islanders. But like I said, I think it's very fair to look at this roster and be like, I don't know what these guys are going to accomplish. Like, it's very easy to do that. I mean, where do they end up in the division? Where do they end up in the Eastern Conference? It's very easy to see them missing the playoffs, like you said, in a lot of different ways. We don't know how this team was, despite the fact that we've watched so many of these different players on this team for so long, we almost don't even know how this team fits together because so many dudes were hurt already. There are new guys. Again, Duclair is essentially a new guy. Like, whatever Duclair was there last year, he's not the same guy. So he's a new guy. Jonathan Drouin is here. Obviously, Schaefer we talked about. What does that mean for Max Siplikov? That Shabanov is here now. Emil Heineman is here. He scored a highlight reel goal the other day, which was fun to see. He looks like he's going to be a guy to watch as well. Maybe, Cal Ritchie makes the team at some point. If he's rehabbing an injury, maybe he goes down for a little while. But it's, there's a lot of old pieces here, but a lot of new pieces here. And oh, sorry. And we can't forget, and this is a guy you wanted to talk about. Their backup goalie right now is not Semyon Varlamov, who is, again, banished to the Phantom Zone. We have no idea what his status is. Patrick Watt has no idea what his status is. He's not even skating at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of this.
So David ask him, is his groin, is your groin still attached to your bone?
That'd be a good step, I suppose, if his groin is still attached to his bones. But David Rittich is here. And is that good? I don't know. He didn't look particularly good in the preseason. Marcus Hogberg is still here. He got sent down to Bridgeport. I'm sure we'll see him again at some point. But like, that's a huge problem, and it's like, Ilya Sorokin didn't have a great season last year. I think he'd be the first to admit that. The defense of the Islanders is all over the place. What are Pelech and Pulock right now at their, the ages of 30 and 31, I guess is what they are now. If Mayfield is if Schaefer is paired with Mayfield, how does that work? I mean, it's so far it's been pretty good. And we talked on a mailbag about how Mayfield might actually be one of the better guys you can pair Schaefer up with, so you can kind of get some meat and potatoes NHL defensemen, work right alongside of him. But then that leaves Romanov and D'Angelo. And I'll be honest with you, in the games I watched in this preseason, I wasn't all that impressed with Tony D, who was, of course, voted our weirdest Islander of last season. So how long he lasts, we don't know. These are all legitimate questions. And starting, frankly, I mean, we could talk about the forwards and defense all day, but like, Rittich is a huge question mark right now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think people realize, and I think it's dawning on most people now, just how important Semyon Varlamov has been to this team since he got here.
Right.
Like, just having him there has meant the world. And now that he's not, I mean, you see what happens. It happened last year too. Like, it's going to be a wild ride, I think.
Yeah, it's the classic you don't know what you got till it's gone scenario for Varlamov. And how about this? It's not trivia, but it's just like a question for you, which is, when was the last time you went into a season? So not mid-season, but like went into a season, and you had to worry about this scenario. Your starting goalie gets hurt and your season is ruined. Like, when's the last time the Islanders went into a season where that was a situation, right? Like,
yeah,
2014, 15.
Yeah, I was gonna say because that was Halak and Grice. Yeah,
no,
right?
It's Chad Johnson.
Chad Johnson.
Spoiler alert, is on top of our mind right now. But
yeah.
So it was Halak and Chad Johnson, and even that season,
yeah.
And through all our Chad Johnson research, once again, spoiler alert, we went into that year being pretty confident that Chad Johnson was going to be like a pretty solid backup. So even that season, that's a stretch. So it's been a really long time since the Islanders have gone into a season where you're like, holy shit, if Nabby or Halak or it was Grice before Leonard, right? Like if then Sorokin, Varlamov, like if this guy gets hurt, we're screwed.
Yeah.
So I think that this is the first time since I would say Nabby and Poulin, or like that.
Nabokov for sure, yeah.
Right, you're like, God damn, if the starter gets hurt, we're done. Like there's no point in even playing. So that's horrifying. I think that's top of my list of things I'm most afraid of this season.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean any shade towards Big Save Dave at all. Like he could come in and do a good job. Like he's got some seasons where he's had good numbers and others where he doesn't. That's what an NHL backup does. I will say that the Islanders, I think, have also spoiled us with their handsomeness. And once again, no shade towards Big Save Dave, but he looks very much like the sixth or seventh member of like an ensemble CBS sitcom from like 2007. Like he'd be the guy that like shows up, walks through the door, and everyone's like, "Hey, Big Save Dave's here."
Yeah.
So that's the look he gives off. But look, there's still time. Radek Martinek was certainly not on the all handsome team during his playing days, and Radek looks great now. So Dave, there's still time. But he's that's scaring me, and I hope he proves me wrong. By all accounts, he's a wonderful chap. So and comes with like that kind of reputation. But I don't have confidence that Dave Rittich would be able to carry like hey, Sorokin's hurt and he's not coming back until Valentine's Day, and it's Christmas. You got to do the heavy lifting. That's a well, what's the point? Season's over kind of situation.
You mean you don't have a lot of confidence in a battery of David Rittich and Marcus Hogberg as your two starting goal? What are you talking about? No, I'm with you. My my hopeful reading on it, because again, Reddit does. I mean, they've done a bunch of interviews with him. Seems like a heck of a nice guy. He had nothing but nice things to say about wanting to come to Long Island, how much good stuff he's heard about the team. So that's all fine and good, but didn't really look all that great. So my in the preseason. So my hope is that maybe he thinks of the preseason the way we think of the preseason, which is like, I don't care about this. I'm not really interested in doing anything here. I'm not going to go out of my way to do too much for a game that honestly doesn't matter. And all I want to do is get out of here healthy. So maybe that's the way it works, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, listen, Piero Greco is again, another guy who I don't know if people realize how important he's been to this team in his time here. And obviously he's done great work with Robin Lehner, with Varlamov, with Sorokin. They all talk about him. That's another stupid thing. I just want to get this out there. I don't want to start a whole thing about this, but it drives me nuts when I hear people talk about the Islanders, even in complimentary ways. Most people I think have been fairly complimentary of them over the course of the summer, talking about Schaefer and Richie and the trades and all this, the future, being bright for the first time in a long time. It drives me nuts when people Patrick Waugh, he's really going to be in charge of the goalies and he's really going to care all that much. And he's really all over the goalies and they're probably coming to him all the time. And every time they talk to Waugh about the goalies, Waugh's answer is always the same. Talk to the goalie coaches. That's what he says. That's their department. He's Patrick Waugh. We all get that. But as coach Patrick Waugh, he leaves the goalies to the goalie coaches, which is what every coach does. So I don't know where these people are getting this from.
It's as we keep saying, right? There's the real NHL that happens, and then there's the fantasy NHL, and this is famously the league that was covered when Kyle Dubas lied to everybody's faces, and they're all like, he's so honest, and I'm like, he's lying to you right now, he's lying to your face while you're talking about how genuine and raw and honest he's being, and you're still writing that you I don't know if you understand what your job is supposed to be, but. Right. So yeah, I mean, you can tell these people stuff like that, and then they run back and they develop this fantasy, what were those things called? Choose your own adventure. Novels. Patrick Waugh said he says ask the goalie coach, but what did he really mean? And then they go and so yeah, but yeah, I would say that's the thing I'm kind of most afraid of. If it was, I would guess yours. If I had to guess what you think is scaring you the most, it would be Waugh, because I know you're still waiting for him to kind of prove his worth to you as a coach, and I still can't just get over the fact. Even today, they showed the clip of them singing "Happy Birthday" to him, and that was cute. He didn't come into frame until a couple seconds into the video, and I'm like, I'm still, my mind is still half trained to expect him to be wearing an Avalanche jersey or a Canadian shirt or something, and I'm like, oh shit, there's Patrick Waugh, the NHL goalie wearing Islanders stuff, and the Islanders are singing to him because he's their coach. That's still hard for me to get my mind around. But
my favorite thing that Waugh did this offseason was, and he's you're right, he has yet to really grow on me as a coach, and we'll see, maybe now he's got players that can play it closer to the system that he wants and stuff. But as for last year, I don't really see it. I didn't really see much of a strategy in any way, just sort of go out there and play. So we'll see how that materializes this year. But my favorite thing Waugh did, and this was one of the, I think, practice videos that he did. I don't remember what day it was. They were talking about Barzal, and he was like, they were talking about whether he's going to play wing or center. And he's like, well, we're going to put Barzy back at center. And they're like, well, what brought you to that decision? And basically he said, I went back and watched the playoff games that he had with this team, and the team was better with him at center, and they made the playoffs, something to that effect. And somebody asked him, did you watch those games as they happened, or did you go back and watch them? He's like, no, I went back and watched them because I did not watch them the first time. Something like that. It's just I felt like, I'm not even making fun of him. I'm just like, of course Patrick Waugh didn't watch those. Nobody watched those stupid games. It's the Islanders. Who the hell watches the Islanders at any point in the playoffs or otherwise? So I just found it funny that he admitted, I didn't watch these guys play in the playoffs. I had to go back and watch them. I had to ask the media team to get me stuff.
I didn't know that they exist.
Yeah. I didn't know they were still around.
Didn't they move to Kansas City? I was like, no. Right. Lou's in charge?
Yeah. Then who are the Vegas Golden Knights? I thought that was the Islanders. They move out there. No? That's a new team.
That too. Oh, well, but my favorite part of that quote, I'm glad you brought it up, was that at the end of it, he was like, Jordan Eberle was scoring like every game against Pittsburgh. And I was like, he was. I know he was, because a couple weeks ago, I watched those, like that long highlight packages of that sweep. I'm like, holy shit, Jordan Eberle is scoring every other time he's on the ice.
Machine.
Yeah, that guy rocked, man. He was so good in that series. That line was bananas. That line was insane. It was Eberle scoring a million goals.
Yes.
Barzal in the middle, and Leo Komarov. Leo was up there with them for a lot of that. So that was awesome. And Leo scored in that series too, which was hilarious. But yeah, I'm glad Patrick Waugh saw it. It's really a shame that Uncle Leo wasn't around, because I feel like him and Waugh would get along just just absolutely famously. And
be a comedy act.
Oh,
but yeah, so I am a little concerned about Waugh. I'm really more concerned. I really hate that I don't even want to say this, but I'm really more scared of injuries more than anything else, because it's kind of, that's the way it's been lately.
Well, at least everyone's healthy through the training camp. It's not like that where you have to worry about that, because everybody we got through completely unscathed without 10 different guys going down.
Yeah. Like it was, and it was like 3 guys a day too, which is really irritating too.
Islanders, it was what do they call it? Like the updates from camp. It's like training camp day to day. And then it's like 8 different guys are actually day to day. We got to change the name of this.
Right. So that was a little annoying. So I am worried about those 2 things, but I am generally worried, and I know you are too, because we talked a little bit about this too, about how this team is going to be in their own zone. This is the part that really bothers me the most. I am right now afraid that this team, and again, the preseason didn't do a ton to disabuse me of this idea, that this team is going to be a complete disaster in their own zone. Every time I watched D'Angelo, he looked like he had no idea what he was doing, which again is not unusual for Tony. That's not his MO. His MO is scoring and on the power play, and that's usually been fine. But I saw way too many long ass shifts in their own zone. It brought back a lot of bad memories. And again, we are now in year whatever it is of the Pelech-Pulock pairing, which has been, I'm not going to sit here and be like, these guys are the worst, because we've had a lot of good runs with these guys. And there was a time when these guys were the preeminent, if not one of the preeminent shutdown defensive pairings in the NHL. But injuries and Italian weddings and all kinds of stuff have changed that narrative over the last couple of years. And so I am, for one, am worried about how the defense is going to be. Matthew Schaefer kind of accepted. I'm okay with Schaefer making mistakes because he's an 18-year-old kid. I'm less okay with some guys who should know better not looking like they have any idea what they're doing out there, or just being slow, and maybe just they're on contracts that are too large to move, and they were going to have to make a decision on them or something like that. So, and I know you also have concerns about that pairing in particular, Pelech and Pulock. And again, it's a shame because these guys have, I was just the Ryan Pulock save in the playoffs just came up on my YouTube the other day, and I watched it again, and I'll never get tired of watching that. But there was a number of years ago, and those guys just frankly aren't the same. So if this team is going to have a good season, those guys in particular are going to need to have a very, very good season.
Yeah, I actually would separate Pelech from the conversation too, because I think like Pelech's problems have been more that the guy just has absolutely rotten luck in terms of injuries. Like we're talking about like groins getting ripped off the bone, but Pelech every 2 weeks in his NHL career feels like a puck is hitting him in the face. Like he showed up to training camp and he was wearing a shield, and they're like, "Oh, is that from when you got hit in the face with a puck?" And he was like, "No, it's actually a new time I got hit in the face with a puck." Like it's this guy, yeah. Like so Pelech, I feel like it's 2 different kind of conversations, right? Pelech is you're just like, hopefully the guy can stay healthy, like he does. Right. Maybe for the first time in 6 years, he doesn't get struck by lightning walking to an arena, right? Like it's
right,
it's stuff like that.
Yeah,
right, yeah, yeah, exactly. And so, and you can't really even talk. So like that's what we're hoping for Pelech, right? So that's that conversation done, because that's literally what you're saying. Like, can he stay healthy? And that's that kind of conversation isn't all that riveting to listen to. And we are here for you, dear listener. So let's talk about Pulock, who I think the conversation is very different, which is like the dude just didn't play well last season, and maybe towards the end of the season before it too. So going into the Italian wedding where the Chainsmokers were playing, and then coming the year after, the year-long honeymoon. So I think that he's the one that kind of is the key to to everything on the blue line. Because if Pelech and Pulock, it turns into a shutdown pairing again, then you don't have to worry about Tony D. Yeah, having breaking out into the some like I don't know barbershop quartet song in his own zone or something, right? Like you don't have to worry about that, and we don't have to lump a ton of pressure on Matt Schaefer either. So because everyone kind of falls into where they should be. Yeah, Tony and Romanov end up as the second pairing. You're not asking them to do crazy things every game, and then Schaefer and Mayfield, you can pick and choose their spots easier if Pelech and Pulock is there are doing their job. And when you're rotating in someone like Boquist or George, same thing goes, right? Everyone's in their right spot. The problem is I really have no idea what to expect out of Pulock. Because as you said, like I actually pulled it up when Pulock signed his extension in the like right before the season, I think in 2021. He signed an 8-year, $6.2 million extension, and one of our favorite chart slingers, Jay Fresh Hockey, wrote Ryan Pulock reportedly signed to an $8.62 million extension, is a high-end pairing two-way defenseman who is the primary puck mover on one of the league's best pairings. And that's kind of what everyone thought when the first comment on this Reddit thread is Pelech and Pulock signed for like 12 million combined is knucking futs. Lou gets it done again. So when these two guys signed, they were considered one of the, and you know what? We to be fair, we rag on people when they're wrong about the Islanders, and the Islanders prove them wrong, and it's a good thing for us. And Pulock is doing the opposite. So, these things can go the other way where they do think the Islanders did something well and it doesn't work out. And that's kind of what the whole hockey world was saying, because they had signed those extensions the same summer. They both were coming off great little runs when the first couple seasons with Trotz, and then just Pulock's play has kind of declined to the point where him and Scott Mayfield, in my eyes, they're like just redundant. They kind of just do the exact same thing, right? Like they're defensive defensemen. They're limited in their going forward. They're going to block shots. They're going to be big. They're going to be physical. They're going to try to kill penalties, although the penalty killing's not been great, obviously.
No.
And that's really it. Like you're kind of just hoping for them to be a Steve Stais, dare I say, type defenseman. Like he goes out there, he defends, and then he goes back to the bench. And you don't really have room for more than one of those types, especially because they're the same handedness. So Pulock to me is extremely important because he doesn't take a step forward, and this blue line can be an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
To what we were talking about how these previews are going, most people just assume the Islanders are going to be stout defensively and they've got nothing to offer going forward. And I think it's quite the opposite here. Like the forward group is really deep. Like they don't really have, they don't have like a dynamite first line that you see on, the handful of really, really good teams in the NHL, but they've basically got they've got too many good forwards, like to the point where they're going to have to, make some tough decisions, I guess, down the line when players are healthy and the team's at full strength. So it's really, the forwards should be fine. I think it's going to be the blue line. And that's really scary, considering, what we saw last year and under Lane Lambert too, like this team just stopped defending.
Yeah. And that gets to, again, like what you were just saying, like people kind of have this perception of the Islanders as a thing. And those of us that actually watch them will know that is wrong. And that's the first thing really, is like, we assume that, this is a stout defensive team, and, Lou Lamoriello would never let this team be bad defensively. Well, I got news for you. The last 2 years, they've been frankly terrible defensively, to the point where even though they made the playoffs in one of them, so it didn't really help. But this team, this is not the Barry Trotz team anymore. This is not the one that would just kind of grind you into paste in your own zone. That team was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that team, but that ship sailed like 4 years ago. So this is not that team. But that being said, I'm with you. I think that the forward group is probably deeper than it's been in years. This is the first time, we should probably spend a little bit of time on this. You talk about first time in years feeling a certain way. This is the first time in years that we don't know who the fourth line is going to be. It's, we saw Casey Cizikas play all kinds of forward positions last year. I'm hoping he's just back at center now, because that's where he really should be the whole time. But who are going to be on his wings. I mean, Sipakov was there at points during preseason. Kyle McLean was there. I don't need to see McLean anymore, quite frankly. What's their plan for Heineman? Where does he slot in? So I don't know. I mean, there's no Cal Clutterbuck is doing podcasts now. That's how far removed we are from the best fourth line ever in hockey. Is that, Matt Martin is raising his kids and Cal Clutterbuck is on a podcast, also raising his kids. But still, these guys aren't here anymore, and that'll be interesting too. Like, what does that mean? How does that translate to success? What do they want out of their fourth line? We knew what they wanted out of their fourth line before. What do they want out of this fourth line? So I'm curious to see how that works out. And there are guys that can play there, but we don't know who they are. And again, right. I'm about done with McLean. Hopefully he ends up in Bridgeport later. No offense, but I think that ship has sailed also. So, but we don't know. Maybe right. He gets the shot because he's been here.
When you look at, and assuming Richie doesn't play on Tuesday or Thursday, and that McLean and Gatcomb are the scratches, just working off that assumption, I think if you looked at the Islanders roster and you were charged with, okay, build the most fourth line that you can. So the guys who kind of the 12 that will play that belong on the fourth line. And I think you're like, oh, well, Cizikas is center. You probably put like Emil Heineman on right wing. And then I don't really know who the other guy would be, because you look at the group of players and you're like, Kyle Palmieri is not a fourth line type. Anders Lee is not a really fourth line type. Max Shabanov obviously is not a fourth line type. Same with Drouin. Same with Barzal and Horvat. If you wanted to throw someone like a center on the wing, Duclair, as I said, not fourth line type. Siplakov, maybe a fourth line type, but that's like really muting his offense. And you're like, I guess it would be Simon Holmstrom, but he's also got a lot of upside. So I don't know who, if you were building like the classic traditional checking fourth line, who would even go on it from this group of players, which is, as we keep saying, very different from years past when you're like, well, try to build a fourth line out of Islanders. You're like, well, there's 9 to choose from, because there's a lot of guys here who can play that role and play it really well. And it's very different. I think most of these guys are, traditional top 6 skill sets, right? Like down the line. And that's, I don't know, like that's very different just from what we've seen from this team in the past, when everybody kind of had a defined role. You knew what to expect from them. Hell, I mean, when the Islanders morphed into that, Trotz, Lou Islanders that everybody now thinks of them, when they showed up to their first camp under Trotz, like you looked at their third line of Filppula, Komarov, and whoever else would like kind of fill in there. You're like, oh, I have no idea what to expect from these guys. And they just became like an amazing, dependable third line. And I don't see like those kind of, to borrow another Lewism, like the orchestra, like you can't, everyone's got to play the position. Not everyone can be, violin seat one. And I don't know where everyone belongs on this forward group, because I think there's a lot of guys who are good enough to be on that front, of the front row of the orchestra. So I'm very interested to see how that goes.
Yeah. And again, it's just a lot of stuff up in the air, and we don't know how this team, I mean, I feel like if you have some sort of grand plan as to like what you think the Islanders are going to be this year, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I could see them going any number of ways, and it's a little scary, but it's also a little exciting because we just don't know what it's going to be. And like you said right off the top, I am also keeping my expectations wide open. I don't, am I prepared for the playoffs? No. Frankly, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I am along for the ride, which is what we'll call this episode for sure. Now, that's easy for me to say before the losses start piling up.
Right.
Well, if they lose these first 2 games, I'm going to be pretty pissed off.
But I'll give you more credit than that, because I think that when we went into other seasons, we kind of like, if they're shitty, we're going to be pissed, right? Like it's going to suck. I don't think I feel that way right now, even before they play. Like it'll suck. Like I want to watch the Islanders play high stakes hockey, and the earlier that stops being, like, then I have to fill my time, and that's tough. And so I don't know if we've kind of felt like that before, where you go into a season and there is a chance where the Islanders miss the playoffs or underwhelm in terms of like their actual wins and losses, but you do say like, that was a pretty memorable year. And One that comes to mind is the year that they had the fight night against the Penguins, right? Like we left that year being like, God damn, that was not a good season, not a good team, but hell, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun watching those guys. They grew. There were some interesting stories. They gave me hope for the future. And it's been a really long time since you could go into a new season and think that that's one of the realms of possibility, because we were not thinking that could be somewhere we'd be left at the end of the season for the last 6 years when we're, if Kyle Palmieri scores had 40 goals last year, we weren't like, oh man, that gives us a lot of hope for next year. It's very different now.
Yeah, it definitely is. So, so all we can do is hope and see how it goes. Okay, we are going to take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to look at those first 2 games of the Islanders season and then get into a bunch of other topics, including our oddly specific predictions. Now, this is an ad break coming up. The first minute is the ad that I made for our 2 favorite sponsors, VintageIceHockey.com and the Pinot Project. The rest of the ads are, put in automatically. If you could all do me a huge favor and just listen to this first minute of ads, I would really appreciate it. I worked really hard on it. These are, companies run by friends of ours. If you could just listen to it, I would really, really appreciate it just for this one time. Then you can skip the rest of the ads and come meet us back on the other side. You don't have to listen to it every time, but if you could just at least once, if everybody does this at least once, I'll feel pretty good about it. So please do that. Listen to this 1 minute of ads, skip the rest, and meet us on the other side where we talk about the first 2 games in the Islander season. All right? Thanks a lot. And now a word from our sponsors. VintageIceHockey.com. Over 100 classic hockey logos on t-shirts, jerseys, hats, mugs, and more. Long Island Ducks, Albany Riverettes, Danbury Trashers, Kentucky Thoroughblades, and so many more. Plus a full line of Islanders Anxiety merch with our portion of the sales going directly to the Center for Dementia Research. These incredible items cannot be found in stores, so shop VintageIceHockey.com today. Relax, sit back, and enjoy wine from the Pinot Project. Rosé, Pinot Grigio, or a Pinot Noir that was named a Best Buy by Wine Enthusiast magazine. These wines are delicious, affordable, and available at area wine shops and at UBS Arena. Learn more at thepinotproject.com. And please, drink responsibly.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Brooks Running reminds us that we're all powered by something. Whether it's the me-time energy of a run after a day at the office, the electrifying energy of your first marathon, or the infectious energy of a group run with your friends. No matter what energy powers you, Brooks has gear specifically designed to unleash it. So lace up and let it out. Let's run there. Visit brooksrunning.com today to learn more.
Welcome to Sephora.
I'm looking for a perfume that's not too perfumey.
I got you.
Serum moisturizer or moisturizer serum.
Let's get into layering.
My concealer is making me look worse.
Sounds like the wrong shade. Let's get you matched.
There's only one store that really gets what you're going for. Get beauty from people who get beauty. Only at Sephora.
Hi, Let's get you a basket.
The all-new 2026 Hyundai Palisade Hybrid doesn't just turn heads. It commands respect. With its stunning exterior, luxurious interior with available captain seats, and spacious third-row seating and equipped with advanced technology, you and the family are making a statement before you even step out. Okay, Hyundai. Visit HyundaiUSA.com to learn more and experience the all-new 2026 Palisade Hybrid today.
This episode is brought to you by Contentful. Marketers, you know that feeling when your creative clicks? When that social post sends engagement through the roof? When your outside-of-the-box campaign hits ROI positive? When a personalized homepage turns prospects into customers? It's utter marketing bliss. Contentful helps you create tailored omni-channel experiences without working overtime. No stress, no limits, only possibilities. Get the feels at contentful.com.
Okay, thank you for listening to that ad, by the way. So the Islanders season begins with 2 games, one on Thursday the 9th in Pittsburgh, 7 o'clock start, and then their first home game is Saturday night at UBS Arena, 7 o'clock against the Washington Capitals. Obviously, we know a lot about the Penguins and the Capitals. We've seen them a lot. 2 teams at complete opposite ends of the division last year. The Penguins sucked, as we all kind of assumed that they would, whereas the Caps kind of rose from the ashes and ended up having a hell of a season, 100 points. Obviously, we all know what Ovechkin did at the Islanders game late in the season, becoming the NHL's all-time leading goal scorer. Again, their next game after that is against Winnipeg at 1 o'clock on Monday, Columbus/Indigenous Peoples Day. We'll talk about that game next week, but I just want to focus on these 2 right now. And I was saying before, I think this game, I don't want to put too much pressure on this and too much weight on this first game, but I do think that this Penguins game will tell us a lot about the Islanders this year, because this is, I guess, their home opener, right?
Yes.
Is that
yes?
okay?
Yeah, they play Mike Sullivan's New York Rangers on Tuesday night, and then they play us.
So here's the thing: this Penguins team is not good, right? We know it, they know it, everybody knows it. This team is not particularly good, but you know, and we all should know, they know, and the Islanders should know that this might be the one game where they put the absolute maximum effort they have into winning. It's their home opener. They got a lot to prove. A lot of people saying that they're shit. If they come out and put in a great performance in their home opener, it gets everybody off their back for a little while. And, everybody can be happy about themselves, pat themselves on the back before, the next, 6 months of misery. The Islanders need to understand this, and they cannot go into this game thinking that, these guys aren't that good, we can waltz into a win. If they do that and they end up kind of not showing up for this game, it will tell us a lot about this season. None of it good. If they go toe-to-toe with these guys, not even necessarily win, but just at least not just kind of punt the game, the first game of the season, because you're on the road against the Penguins and you just, didn't try that hard because you oversold, you kind of played down to your competition, that would be bad. But if they come out with an honest effort, put it in, hey, maybe you win, maybe you lose, whatever, I think that will tell us a lot about what this team is. Because frankly, the Islanders need a good performance here just as much as the Penguins do, even though they're on the road. Obviously, same goes for Saturday's home opener. I don't want to talk about Saturday yet. Do you get what I'm saying here about this Penguins game? Because I feel like, again, if the Penguins are going to try for one game this season, it's going to be this one. Like, they want to get, not even the game against the Rangers, although they'll probably try there too. This is the one where I think they're really going to want people to kind of like, go, maybe they're not that bad. And then, it's November and they're 15 games out of the playoffs. Like, okay, I guess they are that bad.
Yeah. It's. I mean, we've seen it, right? Like they want the same thing we want, which is the season to last as long as it can, and for the games to mean something for as long as they can. And those makes these teams dangerous. They are, they're still, the Penguins, and they'll be annoying and bugging us, and so I don't go into this game thinking like the Islanders are the better team, even though they are the better team. And I just am kind of like, it's shitty that we have to play the Penguins after they already have a game and we don't. But I do think what you're saying is true about kind of like figuring out what this team is where this team is, where kind of different players are coming into a year, because they're playing a team that they should beat on paper. And if you're watching them kind of get run around a little bit, you're like, well, it is just one game, but it's not, because you, as we've said so many times at the beginning of seasons, especially with this team, like the last thing we want is for them to come down to game 81 or 82 if they're going to make the playoffs. And
right.
So this group, especially the players we've kind of already talked about, should know how important it is for them to get off to a good start. And if they don't do that, it means that like they just can't, they're not good enough to grasp it, or they just don't, they just still haven't learned, which is, that would be kind of frustrating. And but you want to flip it, like, the Islanders are getting an opponent they should beat, and hey, they win, they play well against the Penguins and come home to the home opener, with, the place will be rocking, and you got a decent Caps team, and all of a sudden you you put forth a good foot against them, and you're like, hot damn, like maybe this team gets on a roll out of the gates for the first time in a while. And so yeah, I think that's also part of it, which is like it feels it's because it's the only game that we'll be able to look at and watch them and be able to formulate any opinion on.
Right.
But it does feel like kind of this is an important one. It's important for them to get off on the right foot, and for these guys to look like a cohesive unit because of as what we've talked about, the new faces, and then the blue line being pretty scary.
I don't want to remind anybody, by the way, that the first game last year was against the Utah Hockey Club.
And
what happened? The Islanders gave up 100 power play goals and lost in overtime.
Right. It literally set the tone for the entire season. Like everything that the Islanders did in that game ended up just happening over and over and over again the entire year.
100%.
And as I was saying before, like trying to get positive a little bit about it. When Siplikov scored the goal to go ahead with 2 minutes left in their home opener, guy from Russia comes over. There's questions on if he's going to break it. He looked awesome the entire game. He ends up scoring a great goal. Everybody's jazzed up. And at that time, right after that was a wicked wrister. I saw the net, snap from my seat at UBS Arena. And I can remember feeling like these guys are going to be good. Like these guys are going to be good. If this guy is a true bona fide NHL scorer, like that's great. And then I was humbled so quickly thereafter. And that's the feeling I felt the entire season. Anytime the Islanders were trying to trick you into thinking they were worth your time, you got humbled really quickly. And so it would be really nice if this season opener doesn't end up being a microcosm for a nightmare season, right? Like it'd be nice. When's the last time they won a season opener?
Oh God. This is an Eric Hornet question. I have absolutely no idea.
That's the other thing. I just, in my head, I'm just a hot start, like a 5-1-1 start is such a foreign concept to me. It's been so long.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't know. I couldn't even tell you. But that's the thing. You're right. And we talked about it all last year. I mean, we must've brought up that home opener probably 50 times in the episodes that we did, which is crazy, especially since we only did 40 episodes. That was really bad. So get off to a good start, beat the Penguins at home on Thursday. I'm not saying take them lightly, but this is a team you could beat. Let's just be honest. Now, for the home opener against the Capitals, here's the only relevant thing that we all need to understand. Alex Ovechkin, currently, right now, before the season starts, is at 897 career goals, which is obviously an NHL record. 897. That means he is 3 away from 900. The Capitals have a game on Wednesday against the Boston Bruins, and then they play the Islanders on Saturday. If Alex Ovechkin gets to a 900th goal in that game against the Islanders, it is also starting the season off on the wrong foot. Like, I don't want to. I mean, we've actually kind of made it past the whole like record-setting goal thing from last season. We've kind of gotten past it. It hasn't, for me personally, it hasn't inundated me. Again, I'm like you. I'm off Twitter, so maybe that has something to do with it. But I don't want to see the 900th goal celebration from the Islanders home opener
at their home opener
of this season. Like I don't want to see it. Let him get it. I mean, maybe if he scores a hat trick against the Bruins, this is obviously not a problem. So maybe he'll do that, but let him get the 900th goal against somebody else. We've already given him one historic milestone goal, probably others in his career before that, but we don't need to give him a second one. Like, let's be honest. Please don't do that. Ilya, I'm talking to you. Please don't do this. Okay. And then ask for a fucking stick afterwards. We don't need that. So that's the only thing I care about here. Again, I'm hoping they come out and obviously put on a good performance. Again, don't have a repeat of the game against Utah last year. But my biggest fear right now is that we're going to be seeing clips from that game for the rest of our lives because Alex Ovechkin scored goal number 900.
Yeah,
that's bad.
I'll be missing this home opener, which is a rarity for me because I have a wedding that I'm in New Jersey that same night. So I'm gonna be tied to my phone, watching and if I have to see that, if I have to see Wayne Gretzky in the Islander locker room again, as nice as it was to hear him be like, "You guys are great, like you're the Islanders," and the first thing he mentioned, of course, in that speech was the Islanders in Nassau Coliseum. But as nice as that was, I don't want to have to see that. But more than anything, like it's been so long since we got to go into the third game of a season and be like, well, the Islanders need to win this, like,
Yeah,
because
right.
it could get away from you fast in the NHL.
Mm.
So, that last year they started with that game against Utah, and then they got shut out by Dallas in a game that they were pretty much the better team, right? And
Yeah.
remember thinking, wow, they've already got a blown lead, tons of power play goals against, and a moral victory loss in the first 2 games of the season. Like, this season is going to absolutely torment me, and it did. And then they went to Colorado, and we're like, well, now they have to beat the Avalanche. Well, that's going to suck. And they did it, and they beat the Avalanche. And Cal Ritchie was playing for the Avalanche at the time and scored against the Islanders to once again, like, the first week can really start to shape your season. All of a sudden, that guy becomes an Islander in a few months later. So, yeah, I mean, that Capitals game, to me, the way I will feel going into it really depends on what happens with the Penguins game. Because I called it a must win at the top of the show. It's not really true, right? It's a must win if you don't want the next game to be a must win. And I just don't want that to be the case. Like, it'd be so nice if the Islanders can just beat the Penguins and maybe even beat the Capitals, and we're like, oh my God, they're 2-0 after 2 games. That honestly seems harder to accomplish. I said it before, I really can't fathom that. I can't wrap my head around the Islanders just being a clean, no overtime losses, just a clean 2-0 in the standings after 2 games. That just doesn't happen with this team. It hasn't happened in forever, it feels like. So that would be really nice. It'd be really, really nice if the Islanders can just find a way to do that. And we're not really, how many times did we say this last year or the year before that? We're like, we're not really asking the world of you.
Right.
Just go out and win the first 2 games of your season. We're not saying, yeah, you gotta make the playoffs, win 2 rounds. We're just saying, hey, win the first 2 games of the season. And that would be really nice. It would just be, like a favor. You kind of owe us that, right? Like, you kind of owe us that, at least that, just to start a season 2-0. And yeah, so I'm kind of depending on it a little bit too. Like, just go be 2-0, go be 2-0, and God, that would be so nice.
I know we always sign off Weird Islanders, the podcast, by saying keep the Islanders weird, but we don't mean like do weird shit during the season. Like, go out and just be a normal team during the season that like wins the first couple of games of the year or whatever. So
yeah, even once every like 4 years or so, you can just do that for us, like a normal team. Like, even some of the bad teams end up doing that. So
right, exactly. Here's another idea, as you were saying. That's a great idea, by the way. Win both of these games, but I got an even better idea. Let Alex Ovechkin score his 900th goal the next night at Madison Square Garden. How about that?
Oh, yes. And I sign me up for that. I mean,
seriously.
But even so, like, once again, not asking that much. Islanders start 2-0, and Alex Ovechkin score 3 goals in your first 3 games and make the third one happen in the third game. I think everybody can agree that is kind of a fair. We're not even, maybe we're still getting the short end of the stick given what we've been put through. Like, I think that's a very fair ask. Just be 2-0. Ovechkin scored 900 against the Rangers at the Garden, and all is forgiven. We can kind of just go on with the season. It'll be a lot of fun, but I have no faith that any of that's going to happen. Which is none. No faith that they can start 2-0. Right. No faith that the Rangers can have to deal with something like that.
Yeah. But here's the thing: if they do that, then our perception changes, and all of a sudden we maybe can build faith, because we used to have that faith, and then we lost it. So it would be nice to get that faith back. On that note, as we're talking about, sort of speculative fiction for the next couple of games, why don't we talk about our oddly specific predictions for the season? We've been doing this the last couple of years. Mostly they're tongue in cheek. We almost never go back and replay them or figure out if we were right or wrong, because it doesn't really matter. But we each have a couple of things here that we think that might happen during the course of the season. So I'll throw it to you first. I have a couple here. The first one is related to the Islanders. Do you have an Islanders specific one that you want to start with?
Yeah. Before we get to that, I will say I completely forgot the Islanders started 2-0 in 2023, 2024. But the reason it doesn't feel like that is because then they lost 3 in a row right after that. But so I don't remember it at all. But so to start 2-0 again, once again, not asking that much. But yeah, I'll start with the oddly specific predictions. The first one is completely off the ice. But this is my favorite one of the season, and when I think it's going to come true. It's Casey Cizikas becomes the first Islander elected to his local PTA board. I think he's gonna become
Really?
a PTA parent this season. Yeah, I don't know if he'll make many of the meetings.
What on earth makes you think that?
He is his family is just like all over. Their Instagram is just like them being a very regular Long Island family, like, and I just have a feeling that, Casey, I can't imagine him getting traded.
No,
because I feel like if Matthew Darsh or Lou Lamoriello before that were like, Casey, you got to move to Calgary, you'd just be like, no, how can I live on Long Island, like my family's here, I go to school here, we love the schools, they're playing sports here and all that stuff. And he's such a suburban Long Island dad at this point. He's been here for so long. I think the next step for him in his suburban dad metamorphosis is to, they coach the teams already, so the next step forward would be to join a PTA board. So yeah, so that's prediction number one, and the one that I think is a banker. I think we'll see Casey at a couple school board meetings this year.
That would be a very Islanders thing to be like, Cizikas is out tonight. We're just getting word now that Casey Cizikas is out for tonight's game because there's a budget meeting at the school board that he has to preside over. So that would actually be pretty funny. We'll see. Yeah, I guess stranger things have happened. My first one is also Islanders related and also includes a trade that I don't think is going to get made. And he's a guy who's going to get talked about a lot this year. And I don't think that he is getting traded come hell or high water, wherever the Islanders land, whether they finish in first place and win the President's Trophy or finish in dead last, and of course miss out on winning the lottery because they just won it last year. I don't think Anders Lee is going anywhere. I don't think he's getting traded. And not only do I not think he's getting traded, I think he resigns. I feel like he's going to resign at some point, probably not during the season, but maybe after the season for something very low, like 1 year, $2 million, or 2 years, 3.5, something along those lines, to stay here, to be an Islander, to be a Long Island dad. Like you said, I can't see him going anywhere. In fact, the next place I see him going that's not on the ice for the Islanders is up in a luxury box sitting next to Matthew Darsh, next to Josh Bailey and Johnny Boychuk.
Yes.
I guess he could do TV. He doesn't seem like a TV guy, although he certainly has the hair and the chin for it. He's obviously highly intelligent and well-spoken, and he could do that, but I feel like he's more of like a team management kind of guy. And the reason I'm saying this is because it's going to come up. Oh, if the Islanders are out of it by the trade deadline, they got to trade Lee. He could go play in Minnesota, yada, yada, all this stuff. I don't think Lee's going anywhere. I'm just telling you right now. I don't care what anybody's saying. I don't see Anders Lee playing for any other teams that aren't the New York Islanders. So, if he does, hopefully, it's all amicable and the Islanders can get something for him and it happens. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, he ain't going nowhere. Like, could you imagine Anders Lee, Minnesota Wild? Like, that would just be really weird. I don't know. I can't see that happening. And I know people are listening to this going, oh, if they're out of it, you got to trade him. I'm not saying I wouldn't trade him. I'm just saying I can't see them trading him. Like, that's just my opinion. So I don't know. That's my oddly specific prediction. What do you think?
Yeah. So I have 4, and one of them was Islanders don't trade Anders Lee. Islanders get absolutely blasted by everyone for not trading Anders Lee, even though they don't understand the context to it. And it's actually, ends up being totally fine down the line.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the same boat. I think that we're going to hear a lot about it, especially if they're kind of on thin ice in terms of the standings, and I think it's much more likely that they just hold on to him, thinking, I think he'd want to stay, and I think they want him to stay. So, that's it. I was gonna say that.
Great.
The media, and just absolutely blast the Islanders for not trading Anders Lee. That was one of them. The other one. So number 3, I'll make it. There's only one is PTA related. The other 3 were not. So number 3 for me is Max Siplikov and Max Shabanov end up on the same line, and it works out really well. And their center, Matt Barzal, becomes nicknamed Matt Barzalov. And I think that the 3 of them just absolutely become, a very happy-go-lucky Russian trio, even though one of them is from British Columbia. I have a feeling that why not just put those 2 guys together, Siplikov and Shabanov, and who better than to be the middle part of that sandwich, but Matt Barzal.
I think that's a great idea, but then why not just call him Max Barzal?
Max Barzalov. Yes, you're right. Yeah. You got to throw the O out at the end. The Islanders, they need one more guy with OV to end the name. They don't have enough. So, I think that in my head it just makes too much sense just to put those two guys together at some point and see if you can create some Russian magic with Barzal, who played, as we've said it a lot over the course of his career, not so much the past year or two because of injuries and whatever, but the guy that he really reminded a lot of people of was Pavel Datsyuk in the beginning of, his kind of salad days, because of the way he took pucks away from people and just his creativity and kind of general magic, like, as part of his personality and playing style. So yeah, give Siplikov and Shabanov some time together with little Datsyuk in there in the middle and see what happens.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it sounds good to me. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of different line combinations. Like I feel like Holmstrom and Heineman are going to end up on the same line together. I mean, right now Heineman was playing with Horvat. That's fine. Maybe Holmstrom goes on the other side and we get like the Triple H line, and they can play Triple H's theme or whatever at the games. No, please don't do that. That would be bad. But we'll see. I don't see why. I'm actually kind of surprised they haven't tried that. There's Shabanov and Siplikov on the same line.
I wonder if they're just like, it's like an Occam's razor thing where you're just like, well, we can't do that. Everyone will think we're just doing it because it's the easy way out. But why not do it? And I think it would make everybody really happy. I think the team would just have so much fun with that line, and especially if they click. It's been a while since the Islanders had that kind of line that just was. It was supposed to be Duclair, Horvat, Barzal, right? And you were like, wow, we finally got one of those lines back, and it's been a while. So maybe it could be those three. I think that'd be oodles of fun.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, why not? Give it a shot. I like it. Okay. My second one is one that's not going to make anybody happy. Well, at least not 31 other fan bases, because I'm telling you right now, and I'm pretty sure I said this before as well. And if not, it's definitely a lock to happen. The Pittsburgh Penguins are going to get the first overall pick, and they're going to use it on Gavin McKenna, who is currently at Penn State in State College, Pennsylvania. This is one of the worst telegraphed things I've ever seen. It's worse than Bedard going to Chicago when everybody knew the Blackhawks needed something. You knew he was going to go there. Worse than Celebrini, whose dad was like the trainer or something for the Golden State Warriors going to San Jose. The Schaefer thing obviously came out of nowhere. Nobody expected the Islanders to get the first overall pick of the year. But this is going to make up for it, because there's no way that the NHL is going to let Gavin McKenna not go to the Penguins. And this is going to, be, and then what's going to happen is all the people that are clamoring for Sidney Crosby to get traded elsewhere in the twilight of his career are all of a sudden going to be like, no, now he's got to stay and like mentor McKenna, just like Mario mentored him. And it's going to be 10 times more annoying than just if Crosby got just traded to the Avalanche or something. So prepare yourselves for this, because it's going to happen. And if I had to bet my house on one of these predictions, it would be this one. And I'm already talk about being preemptively annoyed. I am preemptively annoyed at this, because it's clearly going to happen.
Yeah.
Like who else is going to get, we know they're going to finish, out of the playoffs. We know they can win the lottery in a cheap way. They've done that before. And where else is he going to play? Like, can you see this guy playing for, Utah or whatever? Like, no, that's not going to happen. So I think that one is an absolute lock. If Casey Cizikas to the PTA is your lock, this is my absolute lock right here.
Yeah, I it's weird because I kind of already just think of him as a Penguin, Right. Like, I'm just like, there's Gavin McKenna. I just saw his name. He's the guy who's going to play for the Penguins soon.
Right.
So I don't disagree. The one thing that I am rooting for with Crosby and the Avalanche is that it happens, because I just know that Sidney Crosby would walk into that locker room and be like, fuck, I'm so happy I don't have to play against Brock Nelson ever again, because he's on my team now. Because Nelson was so good against the Penguins throughout his Islander career, and I will miss that. I will miss Brock Nelson quite a bit. It's been a while since we started the season without him. So hopefully he does his thing over in Colorado. Yeah. So how many did you have? Because I've got one more, and I don't.
Yeah, I have one more too. I had 3. You had 4.
Okay.
So
yep. All right. So my last one is that it's semi-Islander related, and it's kind of two-stepped here, but it's that Noah Dobson has a very underwhelming season in Montreal, and everybody kind of brings up the flaws to his game, the checking his phone during play or rushing back to the bench to check his Snapchats. They start to notice those and are turn the table and like, wow, what did Islander fans see in this guy to ever think he was good? And we're like, and so I think that trade, basically the general theme of this prediction is that the trade very clearly is not working out for the Canadians in year one, and it's painted like
it's our fault.
Like it's our fault, like it's the Islander fans' fault for selling a bag of goods. And the kind of bonus prediction to this prediction is that Dobson comes to UBS Arena, gets booed out of the building every time he touches the ice, and everybody is very upset at Islander fans for doing it, because he is having a tough season, and we're piling on the terrible fans that we are. But yeah, that's my that's prediction number 4. I would, like I said, the one I feel the most confident is Cizikas doing his part in his community on the PTA.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I don't know how booed Dobson will be. First of all, that game is very late in the season.
It's in April. Yeah.
So by then,
I think he's gonna get booed partly because it might be by 6,000 people.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be 6,000 people who are like, well, I'm at this game. The Islanders are out of it. I'm just going to boo Noah Dobson to make this at least a memorable night. Or the Islanders are in the playoffs. The place is rocking because it's towards the end of the season, and we've got our fangs out, and we're just booing the shit out of them. So
I can see that. Yeah, people feeling it. Like they have a resurgence season. Yeah, they're feeling it. I mean, I think this is another odd. I'm just going to make up an oddly specific prediction on the fly right here. I think he'll get booed a lot at like the first time he touches the puck, but then that's it. Like people
like normal booing, not Islander fan booing.
No.
Where we're showing up, we're doing calisthenics before the game starts to make sure we can boo as much as we did on shift 1 as we do on shift 22. So okay, like, so normal booing,
right? Nobody making up like chants, and so nobody's chanting, where's your phone? Like none of that kind of stuff, So I think he'll be booed at first, like because they're going to give him the video. And he's going to get some applause. And
that video is going to be all Andy Green because he had his best moments when Andy Green was on the ice. Maybe the Islanders just sprinkle in and we just want to tip our cap to Andy Green too here. While we got your attention.
They should have Green come out and do like the horn thing and like put him on the screen and people can wave at Andy Green. Oh, Andy Green is here. Bring Chara back too. Why not? Who cares? But like. I think it'll be normal booing. Like he'll get some boos and they'll like be a thing at Sports Center like Islanders fans boo Noah Dobson. But then by the third period, it's like he's just there. Like he's not anybody at that point. So I could see that happening. But speaking of trades, my final oddly specific prediction, and this is a prediction we can make every single year because it seems to happen all the time. We are going to be told, young Kyle Bukauskas, that there might be a lot of trades this year. Because of the cap going up, because of the flexibility that a lot of teams are going to have, they're going to be able to make some moves that, they can spend a little bit more money. And we're going to be told that this might be one of the craziest years we've seen for in-season trades. And we will see no trades. We'll see absolutely no trades whatsoever. We won't see any. Maybe a guy will get picked up on waivers. This week in particular, guys are getting sent down. Maybe somebody gets picked up, whatever. But we're going to get told repeatedly, you got to see what's going to, especially as teams start to fall away. Maybe this season isn't what they thought it was going to be. We might see a lot of trades. Some big ticket guys might get moved. Nobody's going to get moved. And then the trade deadline will come around and, guys will get moved or whatever. But like the in-season trades are not going to happen. They just aren't because nobody does that anymore. Oh, the Christmas freeze is coming up. We might see some crazy trades coming. No, there aren't going to be any trades. So don't get your hopes up because there are not going to be any trades.
It reminds me of I agree, of course, because we will be sold that bag of goods like we're sold every beginning of every season into the Christmas trade freeze, into the trade deadline, and then of course at the draft. I think it was this year's draft famously where one draft insider was like, you won't believe the stuff I'm hearing out there, guys. It's going to be crazy tomorrow. And then
this is going to be one of the craziest drafts.
One of the craziest drafts ever. And then when the everybody started going to their cottages on July 2nd and 3rd, they're like, I'm going to the cottage, but guys, there's still a lot of stuff out there. This is going to be a really crazy off season. Like it's not even close to being done. Tree's still out there looking for a top 6 scorer. Nick Robertson is imminent to be traded.
Yeah.
of course, because he's always traded. He never comes back to the Leafs, and yeah, and then everyone goes away, and then they come back, and there's training. I'm expecting to see a flurry of activity right out of the gates for each.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a lot of stuff out there. But yeah, it's I can't wait for that kind of stuff to start up again.
Yeah.
I will. I got to give a lot of credit to Doug McLean on Off the Rails Friday on Kipper and Board, because he was doing his shtick, which is just outrageous with them, and he is a runaway train on that show, and just kind of almost talks himself into trouble every time, every Friday. But he's talking about how the Senators, he's like, I know the Senators are going to have to trade for a tough guy before the season starts, because they look like the softest team in Canada in the Atlantic Division. Like, they're getting pushed around by the Leafs, they're getting pushed around by the Habs, and like 2 hours later, the Senators traded for Curtis McDermott from the Devils. And I was like, that's the first time I've ever heard somebody like say something like that and have it come true. So, yeah, tip my cap to Doug McLean. But I do really think that the professional liars, yeah, I mean they've been holed up in their cottage for a month and a half or 2 months.
Yeah.
So they got to come out and start making sure you go to their Twitter page all the time again.
Yeah, they got to come out swinging with some trades that won't happen. So there you go. Those are our oddly specific predictions for the season. Again, we will not be checking this episode. This is 8 months from now to see if they came true. But I think a lot of them are really more common sense than predictions. But we'll have
if the PTA thing happens, we'll certainly be revisiting that one. But because that'll be a piece of Islanders lore, and I think a lot of us will be tuned into whatever school district's PTA meetings, see what kind of members Eker is.
If that PTA thing happens, then you should also be elected to the PTA of that school, whatever not Isla school is. It'll be like whatever that school is.
Yeah. Sorry, I gotta go to Casey Zizikis' kids' PTA meeting.
Way too funny. Okay. Very quickly, I want to talk about a thing that kind of made the rounds last week. ESPN baseball analyst Ben McDonald was doing a game. It was game 2 against the Cubs versus the Padres in the playoffs. If you blinked and missed the Padres playoff appearance, this was one of those games. And they were doing, his partner in the booth was doing an ad read for the ESPN's Face Off, the opening night game on Tuesday. Blackhawks and Panthers. It's a 5 p.m. start. And the broadcaster guy asked Ben McDonald if he'd be watching Blackhawks and Panthers. And McDonald's answer was, there is 0 chance I'll be watching. I'm just going to be honest with you. which got everybody laughing, got me laughing right now. And this caused an entire firestorm that nobody, including Ben McDonald, thought was going to happen. All of a sudden, the Please Like My Sport people were all out. How could he say this? How could a person on ESPN say this about another product on ESPN? This is terrible. This is why, blah, blah, blah. Guys, this is like a normal American man reacting to the question, are you going to watch that hockey game? This literal response, a call and response, happens literally all the time in this part of the continent. This is not Canada. We have people here that don't like hockey and don't care. And I'm just glad that Ben McDonald didn't answer that question with, who the hell let Florida have a hockey team? Which is something that a lot of people also still say in the year 2025. And then his partner, I wish I could remember the guy's name, would say, Kevin Brown was the other. He would have to say, well, actually, Florida has 2 hockey teams and they've won 4 of the last 6 Stanley Cups. And that
and they don't have our whole thing. But it's all because of no state tax.
Yeah. There's no taxes down there. Anyway, that would have started a whole conversation nobody wants to have. But I thought this line was funny. I thought he was being honest. People got all up in arms about it. They talked about it on 32 Thoughts. And, again, we talk about this all the time. The way hockey is treated in Canadian markets is very different than the way it's treated here in American markets. And that's just how it is. And it's the NHL just is never going to rise to the level of Major League Baseball or the NFL or the NBA. And this is just the way it is. And frankly, Ben McDonald should have had a little common sense and been like, I think Greg Wyshynski said this with Jeff Merrick. He was like, well, if I'm on ESPN and they're asking me if I'm going to watch a game, I got to assume it's also going to be on ESPN. And I could just say, yeah, sure, whatever. But that part of it, I think he could have had a little bit of common sense. But I could not find it within me to be shocked that this man said this on a national baseball broadcast, because I hear this stuff all the time when I'm like, oh, when my friends at work are like, what are you doing tonight? I'm like, oh, this is an Islanders game. I got to watch it. Or I'm doing the podcast. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah. Yeah. You're going to watch the game? Yeah. Yeah. It's an Islanders game. Oh yeah. Right. They don't know. They don't care. So it's just how it is. So, I mean, it sucks. I mean, maybe they'll invite Ben McDonald to the game. I don't know. Something like that. But
yeah, well, that's
he played it off. He was laughing about it and stuff, but it was kind of fun.
Yeah, it's gonna get turned on its head, and then we'll be sick of the joke pretty quickly. But when I missed this and you sent it to me, and I've just been loving it, because I kind of had to like retroactively find out what happened and read through it. And as soon as you sent me the clip, I'm like, oh, I know exactly how this is going to be treated by just about everybody who's in the hockey media, and everyone kind of played the hits. And yeah, I mean, first of all, I applaud this kind of honesty on broadcast, because everything's so polished now, and we love off the cuff broadcasters. I mean, the Islanders are rolling out a new broadcast kind of programming, and I think we'll just kind of talk about that as the year goes on. But I'm gonna miss the hell out of Butchie. Like, I'm just gonna miss the hell out of Butchie in the booth, because you didn't know what was gonna come out of his mouth, and if it would make sense or anything. And it could be from the most innocuous part of the game, or it could be something, very important. And when Brendan Burke hands the mic over to Butch, you're like, we're in for at least a little bit of entertainment here. Like, I don't know if what he's going to say is going to make me more astute about hockey, but it's going to make me giggle, and we'll probably be talking about it for a while. So, there's not enough of that in kind of broadcasting, I don't think, anymore. And so when someone does something like this, I kind of just, I appreciate it. And I don't really care if people don't want to, like, oh man, you're not mad that this guy isn't watching hockey? No, I could care less. Like, it's just part of what it is. Right. As you said, the please like my sport people, I kind of just I never understood why it got like that, but and why people, especially in Canada, think about all the things we've been told, like, this is going to grow the game so much. This is going to grow the game. This Amazon going behind the scenes with the Leafs is so good for growing the game, especially because it's a market down there where we need to grow the game. Like, this is it's not a market that's already, we picked it to the bone. And all the things that have been kind of tossed at us, like, in that regard over the past 10 years, we still have this. So, like, it's not like it's working. They're not working. So no. You just gotta live with it in reality. Just live in this reality, enjoy it for what it is, enjoy the sport, the league, and the team that you watch for what they provide or take away from you. And, hell, the Islanders have taken a lot away from us. So that's just how it works. So I'm happy this happened. I'm happy it happened.
Yeah. I think a lot of people need to understand. Hopefully, it does shock some people. But I saw somebody, I guess, on my Blue Sky timeline was like, oh, this is all, Gary Bettman's doing. And it was like, well, Bettman has, put billions of dollars in the owner's pockets. So I think he's probably doing okay. Like, this is the fact that some baseball guy isn't watching the Panthers Blackhawks game on October 6th isn't really, that he doesn't really care. Like, they've managed to put more teams out there, and they're all worth $1 billion+ now. So I think Gary Bettman has more or less done his job. But in terms of publicity for the NHL is still the NHL. Like, it just is what it is. There's no way around it. Yep. And, I wish, frankly, we've had our complaints about ESPN's broadcast since this started. And also, by the way, this is not the first time an ESPN person has said something like this. And I posted this as well, too. I don't know if anybody remembers, a couple of years ago, Molly Kieram, who was on First Take until just recently, actually, they had Michael Kay on. And this was just after the Rangers had acquired Patrick Kane, and Stephen A. Smith asked Michael Kay, who do you think the next New York team to win a championship is going to be? And Kay was like, actually, I think it's the Rangers. They just traded for Patrick Kane. They're a really good team. And Molly Kieram's answer was, oh, that's not a real team. Which is funny because it's the Rangers, but it's also like, really? They are a real team. They've been around a long time. You really can't say they're not a real team. But anyway. So this isn't the first time this has happened.
Yeah, and that's been part of our life. I mean, right. ESPN famously would just ignore hockey for for 15,
20
20
years.
years. Yeah. And would make fun of it. And it was on OLN and Versus. And
yeah,
there was the brunt of many jokes from my friends. I'd be like, can you put the hockey game on? And be like, are you kidding me? And, and who's playing? Like, well, it's a playoff game. The Wild are playing the Blackhawks. I got to watch this. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, what are you talking about? So, I think it's just everything's blaming Gary Bettman for that is hilarious because it's just been the same as it ever was. And I think that at like a kind of like boots on the ground level, I think there's certainly more hockey out there, right? Like, I feel like youth programs and stuff like that have kind of taken off for sure, but it's not a league that's just ever going to break into the cultural psyche like the other leagues do. And who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I just don't care. Nothing makes me want to turn a podcast off more than hearing about valuations and stuff like that, So, this isn't the type of publicity the NHL needs. No, the NHL doesn't need any publicity. It just is what it is. Like, if the NHL didn't spend another cent on advertising from now until the end of days, I don't think it would make a difference on anything.
Nope. Right.
So
it's a word of mouth league. So
okay. Have you ever been on like a subway and been like, oh my God, look at that billboard of Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid? That's a big sticker. And I gotta check the sport out now because I see this billboard on a bus.
I just saw these guys on Amazon. I'm going to watch this.
Oh my God. Willie Nylander said that he like really enjoys eating pizza just like me. This is I got to check. I think because he was on the last season of this show too. And like, this guy is totally cool, man. He skates with kids. It's awesome. I gotta watch this sport.
That's another huge difference between Canadian markets and US markets. And that's Canadian markets find every hockey player to be the most fascinating person on earth. Whereas here, nobody's ever heard of these guys. And case in point, Exhibit A, Marc-Andre Fleury. Once again at a Penguins preseason game, just what we all needed. But anyway, we don't need to go further down that road. I do want to take a few moments here to reflect very quickly on something I mentioned right off the very beginning of the show, and that is that this is our 10th season doing Islanders Anxiety. That is an enormous accomplishment. Frankly, most podcasts don't get to 1 year doing their thing, let alone 10 with also a successful spinoff that's entering its 5th year with the Patreon that's doing very well with a bunch of bonus episodes there and even more bonus stuff coming this season as well. And so we thank you for listening. We thank you for being along for the ride with us. We know we're not everybody's cup of tea, but we have an extremely loyal audience. We hope it grows, obviously, but I think, have an understanding with you guys. You understand us. It's a great relationship. We have great chats over at the Patreon as well these days over the course of the summer. And so we thank you for being along for the ride with us for 10 years. Again, this is not something that a lot of podcasts get to, especially in the hockey space. And to be doing it for a team that, as we just mentioned, almost nobody cares about in the sport, almost nobody cares about, is even more of an accomplishment. So it's been fantastic. Obviously, I couldn't have done it without you, Mike. This is you and I. We aren't always in the same physical space. We've barely been in the same physical space throughout this 10 years, but I couldn't do it without you. I think our chemistry is fantastic. I think it gets better and better every episode, every year. And so it's been so much fun. And I can't wait to another season, maybe another 10 more, who knows? But this has been a great time. So thank you for everybody.
Yeah, I would echo the sentiments. It's really just so much fun. And it's been fun for all 10 years. I actually was planning on, I was like, I got to listen to our first episode if I could track it down. And instead, I just went to Spotify and sorted by the oldest. And the oldest one on Spotify was from, I think it was like our 30th episode or something like that. And it's called The Boys in the Back Room. And I remember this episode very well. And we talked about how it's so funny how we were talking about the same thing, just it sounded much worse. And the Islanders had just been came out that Barclays Center was saying the Islanders weren't making them any money. Mikhail Prokhorov was going to explore options about like getting out of the lease. And like the mayor of Hartford was like, hey, come play for us, Islanders. And like the hockey media then took that for the Islanders are moving to Hartford. And you and I kind of had this, one of our classic conversations, kind of dissecting the entire thing from the story, then down to the reaction and how it got to where it was. And I was laughing to myself because it sounds so much I sound so unpolished. I mean, I am unpolished. I think that's part of what it is, right? Like, it's just
we were also using Skype back then.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
don't
exactly.
blame yourself
Skype,
too much.
But I was gonna say your audio has improved just through your equipment, but I was like, damn, Dan is really good at what he does. Like, he's such a good host. Because I haven't listened or thought about this episode in years, or had to like refamiliarize myself with the story through listening to us. And you just did such a good job of moving the conversation to where it needed to go, and doing your dry sense of humor. And I was like, you kind of are like Andy Green. You've been so steady and like have been such an easy partner to work with, because I know exactly where the puck is going to be when it comes off your stick. And it really jumped out to me listening to that episode. I was like, holy shit, like Dan is a very good kind of host and show mover. So I wanted to make sure I brought that up, because it's we say all the time, I can't do it without you, and it's been a ton of fun. And so you should go listen to that and be like, I think you'll be very impressed with how you hosted that episode. Because it was quite impressive, but then if I listen to this episode back, I'm like, it's the same. Like, you've been so steady this whole time. So dependability, man, it's such an underrated thing, and you're as dependable as they come. So I tip my cap to you, and thank you to, once again, everyone listening. Everyone just cracks me up that listens to this show. It's hilarious to have the conversations, and as the season goes on, and the texts and messages like I'll wake up to or see late at night, and the Leafs articles I get sent. It's just an outrageous thing, and it really makes the day move much easier. So thank you for that. I'm very excited that it's back, and we got a 10th season to kind of unfold here, and we'll see what kind of people we are at the end of it, because at the end of, I was a different person last April than I was in October, and then I became a very different person when the Islanders won the lottery like a couple weeks later, and then a different person when I learned about Matthew Schaefer. So we'll see where the season and the show kind of takes us as we're along for the ride.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your kind words. Thank you very much. I should go back, and I do remember that episode, because that was like the first of our series of like, no, they're not leaving Barclays Center. Because I think the one after that might have been the concrete in the toilet episode.
Might have been, yeah.
That's the Coliseum,
but listening to it, that's the funniest part of it, is like, we're just like kind of like, there's no way that this team is ever leaving. But we opened it saying it was like our first ever emergency podcast, and that we didn't even think it was important enough to meet when they fired Jack Capuano. But when the mayor of Hartford pipes up, we got that's what we're here for. And I think that is apropos of our show, and it's kind of remained the steady theme of it, which is like, you're not here to hear about like what Patrick Wa's systems are going to look like, and ice time, and who should be playing the most and whatever. But by hook or by crook, we're going to be here if a politician from another city comes up and is like, we're taking that team.
Right.
You're not going to stop us from meeting for that episode.
I mean, that's, you couldn't ask for a more teed up ball for us than that, right?
Exactly.
Like,
right.
Just, right. Much in the way that
appropriate to be listening to that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder why that was the first one on Spotify. I'm sure it's something. Those episodes are still somewhere. I can find them. I have them here too. Maybe I'll make them available somehow, some way. But it's very much like I was thinking about Weird Islanders, and how like I feel like you and I are like uniquely equipped for that show. Like, the way we think about the Islanders, the way we think about NHL history, and the way we kind of like, process these memories and of players, and go back in history and look at stuff and recontextualize it, and kind of how we talk about how we felt at the time, how we feel now looking back. I feel that's very much us, and this show obviously is very much us, and complaining about another team another city trying to swipe our team while we just moved into a building that was supposed to have stopped all of this is also very much us. So I'm going to go back and listen to that one. I thought about listening to the first episode as well too, but we did that for, I think our 100th episode, I think so.
Yeah, might have. And well, just to show how different our lives have changed, since then, or how much they've changed, was I was planning on listening to it right after the kids went to bed, But I ended up listening to it while I was cleaning. Emmy was in the tub and she pooped in the tub. So I was literally cleaning this tub today and listening to that episode, cracking up, and it made the experience a lot easier because. And I was thinking, I was like, man, when I recorded this episode, I wasn't engaged, I wasn't married, or maybe I just got engaged. No, I wasn't engaged yet, and married with kids, and now here I am listening to it, and I can listen to myself and be like, yeah, you have no idea what's to come, both in terms of this team, like Lou Lamoriello has come and gone,
right,
from the New York Islanders, and Patrick Waugh is the head coach, and
Seriously.
so it's been quite a ride, and I'm very grateful that we got to do it. Ride it. Our ride got to consist of doing this show.
Yeah, definitely. So, thank you all again. And again, we're very excited. This show is never like, I'm never like, oh man, I gotta go. I'm always excited to come here and talk to you, talk about the Islanders process, whatever just happened. So we hope you enjoy this show. We hope you've been around for 10 years. And if this is your first episode or your 341st episode, we thank you for being with us, and please stick with us all season long because we're going to be here. That also means that Weird Islanders, the podcast, is back. That's not this Friday. It's actually going to be the next Friday, the 17th, and it's going to run bi-weekly again. Every episode, comes out every 2 weeks. I'm not spoiling it, but you're going to really enjoy our first episode this season. You're going to want to hear it. That's all I'm going to say. It's a really, really good episode with one of the best guests we've ever had. I cannot wait for this to come out. We recorded it like 2 weeks ago, and I got to wait now 2 more weeks before people can hear it. And I can't wait. And it was really, really good. And it's one of the best ones we've ever done. So please check that out when you can. We'll be back next week, obviously, talking on Sunday. And then the Winnipeg game is at 1:00 the next day. So again, try and listen in the morning. In the meantime, become a member at patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety for ad-free episodes, bonus podcasts, written posts, and chats. Or you can just join for free and get our weekly release calendar and announcements. Find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Please leave us a review where you can. Our theme song is Morning Haze by Family Dinner. Listen to more of their music on Spotify. Read Lighthouse Hockey every single day for your most up-to-date Islanders news and discussion. Islanders Anxiety podcasts are part of the Fans First Sports Network. Shop VintageIceHockey.com. Try wines from the Pinot Project. Mike, any final thoughts on the training camp where the Islanders just had, the first 2 games coming up, the season in general, or wherever you're at right now?
No, that's really it, man. I think we said it all. It's it feels like this team never gets off to good starts. So one good start would be really nice, would be really appreciated, would make us all quite happy. So I'm excited to get into it and just see what this all looks like, because I don't think anybody has any idea.
Yeah, talk about feeling very different. We could feel very different about this team this time next week.
Yes,
and it might just continue that all season long. But again, we will be here no matter what, and we hope you join us again. We'll be back next week, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.